Hey guys, it's me, BugCatcherKate, and I'm going to be filming my very first makeup tutorial. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to be doing a basic day look that I do using the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. It's my favorite makeup palette. I've been using it for about 1.5 years now. And I'm going to start with a kind of fluffy brush. This is how big it is. And I'm going to start with a light color. I'm going to start with this light peachy one. And you just want to do it all over here on the lid and the brow bone, getting a nice even layer. It's kind of weird to film and do my makeup, so we'll see how this goes, but you're gonna do it to both sides. And for years and years, I would do my foundation and powder before doing my eyes, and that's silly because you get all of this fluffy stuff here, this fallout, that you gotta brush away. This is just a fluffy dual-ended makeup brush. All my brushes are super cheap. This one I use just to brush all that stuff off there. So now I've got a neutral base to start with. That's the bus. It's kind of loud. So this tutorial obviously won't work for everyone because everybody's face shape is a little bit different, and the way our bone structure is changes the way that we need to apply makeup. A good way to think of it is that doing your makeup is really just thinking about the lights and shadows on your face. It's basically what contouring is. I'm going to be using this kind of dark plummy color. It's one of my favorites to go to for a little bit of drama, but neutral enough that I can wear it with just about anything. So I'm gonna start by just tapping it on there and going whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Gonna get some on the brush and then just dab it into this crease part. Boop, boop, boop. It's super fluffy and it looks bad because it's just the beginning. I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna keep reapplying it to build it up a little bit. You're really going to be working on layering the colors on. Just a little bit on each one. All right, not bad for a start. I'm going to blow out the brush or tap it out. I clean my brushes just by brushing them out like that so I can reuse them for other colors. I'm going to take the fluffy one again and brush off any of that excess. Alright, now I'm going to go back to the one that we used to put on the neutral color. This one's a little bit denser, not as soft as the one that I did the darker color with. And I'm just going to blend it a little bit to keep those harsh lines from standing out. For my go-to day look, I'm usually only going to do like 3 or 4 different colors. Right now we've done 2 colors. We've done the peachy neutral and the plum kind of purple. To do the next part, I'm going to take the same fluffy brush that I was using for the purple, and I'm going to just get a little bit of water on it. Anytime you use water on an eyeshadow, it's going to make it stay a little bit longer, makes it a little bit more vibrant. So I'm doing the same thing, just got it wet, and I'm just dabbing it in there, boop, boop, boop. And then coming back into the crease, and I'm just gonna put some on there. Super chunky, oh no, looks bad. Don't worry, makeup's all about figuring it out as you go. More or less same thing as Bob Ross did here, just doing it on your face. Happy mistakes. So I'm gonna leave it to dry for a second. As you can see, it's super uneven and super chunky. Not really what I like to do. I like to have it look pretty clean. I really like blending. So the next step, let me just check the mirror here. Yeah, we're looking. The next step is gonna go back to the fluffy kind of coarse brush that we used for the neutral. I'm gonna get some more of the dry plum color to even out those sections. So I'm just gonna dab it on top. Since the bottom creasy part is still a little damp, this will help it stick to those sections and blend a little bit more evenly. I don't know if you guys can tell, but on this one I'm having a little bit more issue. This one is already starting to blend quite nicely. Fluff out my brush and give a little bit of blend. I'm gonna put a little bit more on this side since it doesn't look beautiful. And clean up some edges. And that's really it for the eyeshadow. There's not really anything more to the daily look. I'm just gonna alternate between doing a little bit of wet and a little bit of dry to build it up to the coverage and intensity of color that I want. You'll notice that when I'm using the wet brush, I'm just tapping it on the crease there. I don't really want to blend with it since this brush is damp. It will make it streaky and much harder to blend with the dry brush. All right, and I'm just following the line of my brow bone. My lids are, I feel like, pretty good canvases for makeup, so I'm blessed genetically there, but just gonna follow that line. This makes it look consistent and believable. That way, you know, if I had it up here or if I didn't follow this line correctly, it would just look a little bit off and it would make my face look a lot less symmetrical, which nobody's face is actually symmetrical. I'm gonna take the fluffy one again and just brush off all of the excess. And now I am done with the eyes for now. Next we will do my brows. You can see I haven't filled them in yet. So I'm gonna use this little angled brush. Oops, sorry, I probably can't see that. Little angled brush, just how big it is. Oh, this is the big fluffy one. This is the one that I wet. This is the coarse one, so you can see what size it is. Here is that angled one. I'm gonna use that to do my eyebrows. I'm just gonna dip the edge of it in a little bit of water. I'm gonna come back to my Peachy Mattes palette, and I'm gonna grab this lighter brown up here. And I'm just going to dab it on there, boop, 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 get a little bit. And then I'm gonna start in the corner here, and I'm just gonna stroke up. Just gentle strokes up, nothing crazy. You can see that I got out of line already. Doesn't matter, we can fix it. Just do a couple quick strokes up, and then pull it down. I don't really shape my brows, so I just follow whatever path they think they should be going. Get my brush a little wet again. Grab some more shadow. And then stroke up, up. Nothing crazy. And then a couple strokes down. Boop, boop. And then you'll see, still got a couple spots that might need filling in. I've got a little bit of a darker color that I use to fill in where I'm actually missing some. So like right here, boop, a little bit darker here, boop, and down. This one's a bit fuller, but just a touch with that darker color. We're already almost done, crazy. All right, so my eyes and my brows are done. Now I can do my face. I'm not gonna do a lot for my basic daily look, I've got a Maybelline 24-hour foundation. I have pretty oily skin. Whoops, that was loud. Pretty oily skin, so I have to be careful what type of makeup I use. You really shouldn't use a ton of foundation if you have oily skin because it'll just kind of smear off during the day. But I also have really big pores and acne, so I'm gonna do a little bit of this. So I just squirted some on my hand, and I'm using my finger. It's not the best way to apply it. It's not the fanciest way, but it gets the job done. And I'm just blotting it where I know that my skin is a little bit splotchy. All in here under my eyes, I've got pretty big pores and a little bit of uneven coloring, so I just want to balance it out. This particular foundation has really good coverage, even with my oily skin, so it's pretty great, but a little goes a long way. So you see I didn't really do a ton on my nose or around here. I'm gonna put a little more underneath here and try to cover those up. I also have a concealer for that. So I'm just beep, 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 beep. It doesn't have to be perfect because, again, we've got so much blending we can do. And this seems like a lot of information, but you'll get used to it once you do it. It's just all repetition. And I've got a big fluffy brush. This is a kabuki brush. I'm gonna use this to blend out those edges of where I added any of the foundation. First, I'm going to use some concealer. I think this one's CoverGirl. Doesn't say. I'm pretty sure it is. Oh no, it's Maybelline. It's Maybelline. Just kidding. This is super thick. So whereas the foundation was kind of thin with good coverage, this is super thick with like all of the coverage. So I need way less than I even grabbed right there. Like it's just so hard to get less. So I'm gonna on my fingy from one fingy to the other, and then I'm just gonna put a little dot on top of each of these gross pieces of acne, and then a couple other dots near it, whoops, which is gonna be essential to the blending. If you've ever used Photoshop and done any spot healing, or use the spot healing tool, this is the same idea, just doing it physically. So I'm almost ready to blend those. You can see they still have like different colors and don't look fabulous. So I'm going to grab my Maybelline Super Stay 24-hour full coverage powder. They go together. This is super good for people with oily skin. It's the best coverage powder that I've found so far, but sometimes I'm not super a fan of the texture. So I'm just gonna get a little bit on my brush. Nothing fancy, boop, boop. And then I'm gonna blot again like I did with my finger, just following the same motion, blot, blot, blot. And then I'm also gonna blend it, just some circles. This keeps those edges from being too defined. This is how you prevent from having like a makeup line where you stop doing your foundation. It's really important to blend them out so it looks more natural. Now, if you're going for something crazy and you're doing like green skin and you've got an obvious line, great, go for it. All right, so now I've blended these and I'm pretty happy. You can still see them, but they look a lot better than they did. Now I'm going to take the powder round that came with my powder and I'm just very lightly, just a little bit, and then bring it up under my eyes, following the shape of my face, blending away towards the hairline, blending away towards the hairline, a little bit on my nose. Now my forehead is one of the oiler spaces, so I'm gonna do a little bit of extra powder there and I'm gonna blot it. And I also want to make sure that the edges of my brows are defined, so I'm just gonna cut down from there, put a little bit just on the edge, and then cut down from there. Nope. Nope. Looking good. All right, next we're going to do my very very favorite mascara, Maybelline Colossal Volume Express. I've been using it since 2008 and it's my very favorite. So, boop. You want to just come in and blink towards it. You don't want to put on too much because it'll get really clumpy. You just want to blink, blink, blink. And blink, blink, blink. I like when my lashes look super full, so I will do this process over and over, probably 3 to 7 times, depending on how full I want them to look. Also, if they start sticking together in weird spots, like this one kind of is, just do a little bit the opposite direction. Where I had been pulling them towards my nose before, pull it away to break them apart. Pull it this way, and then this way to break it apart. I'm not gonna do any more layers because this video would be forever long if I did that, but that's the idea on doing mascara. Next, we're going to do some eyeliner. I am going to do this Stila waterproof liquid eyeliner in this like butternut squash color. Just to kind of show you, it's really nice. It's almost out though, so I gotta shake it. This part's gonna be tricky with the camera and the mirror, but the best advice that I can give on eyeliner is to be very patient with yourself and to allow yourself to make mistakes. So I'm just going to start off towards the inner lash here, towards my nose, and just pull it slowly away. Slowly away. Not worried too much about the wing at the end yet. I just want to make sure that I get some coverage. And you can see that I super messed that up, but it's okay, we can fix it. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna start at the inner corner and just pull some color across. Pull some across. Do-do-do. Now, to fix this and to make them even, I'm going to make it a little bit thicker at the beginning and a more pronounced arch. That's going to make it a little bit more dramatic, but that way I don't have to take it all off and start over. So we're just gonna put some in that corner. Beautiful. And then we're gonna do the same to this one. So we're gonna pull it up and make it match that shape. It's a little bit thicker than I had wanted. It's a little bit more dramatic than I had wanted, but that's okay. Especially since we're doing this nice orangey color here. It won't be too terrible to get it smudged everywhere. All right, now we just want to do a finishing touch to make sure that they're even. There. Sorry, that was just my nose. And they're pretty close. Let's see. Just a tiny bit more there. All right. Now, I still do want to do the black liner because I want to use it to do the wings. This is my very favorite liquid eyeliner I've ever used. It's NYX matte liquid eyeliner. So when it dries, it's matte instead of a little bit shimmery or a little shiny. It looks a little bit better with my skin since I'm always a little bit concerned about being overly oily. So I'm going to try to do this without having to put my whole face next to the camera and lean my nose into it. But I don't know how that's gonna go. So here it is. It is a brush, sorry. It's a brush tip. So when you push it, it spreads. So you have to be really careful on the pressure that you use. The harder you press, the thicker the line. If you want to do a thin line, you just don't press as hard. It's pretty intuitive, but it takes a lot of work to get used to it. So here we go. Again, I'm going to start closer to the nose and just pull it out a little bit. Beautiful. And I'm going to start, oops, we made a mistake. what will we do? All right, you know that brush that we used earlier to blend out the wet powder? I'm gonna dry it off a little bit, and then we're just gonna use it to blend that little bit off that we just got on there. And then we're gonna go back to, lost it, back to that butternut squash color and just very gently get on top. All better. All right, back to that black. I'm going to start on the inner corner again and pull outwards. It does take a steady hand, which I don't have, but I've done it enough that I kind of memorized how to hold my hand and my face. Practice makes perfect for sure. All right, here we go. Starting on the inner corner and pulling out. Uh-oh, we're almost out. Time to refill. So the tip's getting a little dry, so I'm gonna put it in there, and I always swipe some off at the end to prevent it from getting too clumpy, because if there's too much on the end, then when I go to press, the line's gonna be thicker than I want, which is sometimes what I'm looking for, but not right now. All right, inner corner and pull. Looks pretty good, huh? Not bad. All right, now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and add another layer of, my battery's dying. Now that I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and add another layer of mascara. It will fill in any spots that you might have missed with the black on the edge there, so it just helps it stay even. Ooh. All right, so eyes are done, and brows are done, and base is done. Looks pretty good. Now we're going to do some blush. This is a CoverGirl Ancient blush that I've used forever in Pretty Peach. I tend to love corals and peaches. They go really well with warm tones. They're just really buildable and happen to go really good with my skin tone. So you'll almost always see me in a more peachy toned pink than a hot pink kind of pink. So I'm just gonna swirl the brush on there, make sure that it's covered. You can see it on the tip there. And then I'm gonna, you want to do little motions in circles out. So you're gonna go circle, circle, out on both cheeks. I'm gonna go circle, circle, out. I'm gonna get a little bit more. Circle, circle, out. And that's just like your base for the blush. I like to do my blush a little bit heavier, since my coloring's not terribly interesting. So I'll put a little bit more, and then I'll just do a couple dabs on the very highest point on my cheek. This is the highest point on my face other than the tip of my nose, if you were looking at it this way. So I know that it's gonna be getting a lot of sun, hence the blush. All right, now you'll see that there's some weird lines. All you gotta do to fix those is get your kabuki brush. It's already got a little bit of powder still on it, so I'm not gonna dab it again, and just blend. Blend. You just wanna touch those edges, basically. Kinda like what we did with the concealer. You just wanna make sure that the edges aren't super sharp and defined, because it keeps it from looking natural. Whoops. All right, the last two things that I would do for a basic look would be a basic lip, and that's it, and a highlighter. I almost forgot my highlighter. Kat Von D Alchemist Holographic Palette. It's my favorite highlighter. The blue is gone, unfortunately, but it comes with a blue, a green, a violet, and a pink. I like doing weird colors, so today though, we're just gonna use the pink opal, which has, as you can see, a pink sheen to it, but is otherwise translucent. So to apply that, I'm just going to rub it on the tip of my finger. Super professional. And then your highlight is going to hit wherever the sun would touch first. So the highest points, whoop, right there in the tip of your nose, and then on those cheekbones. And you can see that I'm getting a big swipe. Come and get more. Big swipe. Because the shape of my finger is pretty good for applying. So I'm just gonna swipe a little bit on, put a little on the tip of my nose, a little bit towards the bridge, and then on the pointy parts of my lip. Right here and right here. Whoops, I missed. Right here and right here. And then for this part, I'm just gonna blend down and away from this middle part. This will give a little bit more definition to the points of my lips because my mouth's a little bit small. Well, my lips, got a big mouth. Okay, so these are chunky and awful, but they're in the right places. Put a little bit more here. Put a tiny bit here. I don't like to highlight my chin a lot because it just kind of looks like I'm oily. It depends on the shape of your face, really. And then for this last little bit, I'm going to very, very lightly just spread it across my forehead. You see there's still quite a bit left since I used my finger because the density of it. So I'm just gonna wipe it off on a makeup towel. And then, you guessed it, we're gonna blend. Kabuki brush, blend, blend, blend. On this one, you can blend up and towards your eyes because you don't, it's all right if the highlighter actually hits here because it'll bring a little bit of attention to this shape. On the blush, you wanna blend out and away, but on the highlighter, you can blend in if you'd like. And I'm blending up and down on the nose. You really want it to stay on this part. You don't really want it to fall on the sides, so you want to do some of this. And I do want to add just a little bit more to my forehead, so I'm going to go ahead and just use the Kabuki brush straight away. And I'm losing my lighting. And tap it on there. Just got a little bit. And I'll just do a little bit there and there. All right, one more thing. I've got a Revlon lip stain balm. I don't like to reapply lipsticks, and I am kind of messy with my mouth when I'm like eating or drinking or whatever. So I'll either wear a super long wear lipstick like this Kat Von D one, something very light that is easy to reapply like this Revlon lightly tinted lip balm. I love these. But if I want something kind of in the middle and I don't want to do a lipstick, I'll do a balm that has some kind of stain. So I'm not going to do anything fancy for my lips. I'm not super good at doing lipstick, but I'm going to give you the tips that I've got. So I'm going to start in my Cupid's bow tip. I don't know, I'm going to start on this point, and what you want to do is you want to blend down and down to define that shape, and then down and down to define this shape, because what you want to do is outline it just a little bit before you apply to make sure that it's not going to bleed. This isn't a terribly dense lip covering, so it won't bleed that much, but it's a good habit. All right, I'm going to make a funny face. See, not too bad. Missed a little bit here. And then you want to do the same thing along the bottom, which is a little bit trickier. And I never ever line the sides here because it doesn't look good and it smears for me. If you have a little bit fuller lips, I'm sure it would look gorgeous. But for me, I really just want to be able to highlight like, hey, I do in fact have lips. Here is how pointy they are, and here is how full they are. So just drag it along the bottom, just a little bit. And then I, of course, using my hands all the time, will just take off that little excess that I got there. Okay, now it's lined, so you're just gonna fill it in really simple. You're gonna go, just a tiny bit, very gentle strokes. Easy. Easy, she says. All right, I now have a full face of makeup on, so I will do one more check to make sure. Realistically, I would even out this line a little bit more, but my phone's about to die and you guys you get the picture. I would love to have been able to show you better how to do the eyeliner. I'll definitely work on that for a future one. If you wanted to take this look to the next level and turn it into a night look, I've got a couple quick tips for that. I've got another Physicians Formula palette here that's super glitzy. This one is a neutral, almost blank kind of beige. I would fill it up there, and then I would use that to line the brow bone. It gives it a little bit more definition. It makes your eyes stand out just a little bit more. And then of course you've got the glitter. Can't go wrong with the glitter. I would then take something similarly fabulous, like this kind of dark brown one. You can't really see the color because of the light I've got here, but this kind of dark bronze one. And I would just put it underneath here. And I, of course, licked the brush accidentally. You should never do that. Dip it in water. Just for a little bit of interest there. It's not a full coverage like this purple one would be, where it has some actual like pigment in with it. Here, pigment. These glittery ones have more glitter than they do pigment, so if you put it on lightly, you can just use it as a shimmer and not worry about it actually being this dark color. So that's basically what I'm going for. Then find another dry brush and got a new one, haven't seen this one yet. And I would take some more of that glitter and I would just make sure that it doesn't have a harsh line, since we do want to make sure that it's blended. So just take a little bit of dry and blend it on there. And then the last thing I would do to change it up to a night look would be to do black eyeliner. So I'm gonna try one more time to get that. I would just switch it up and try to cover most of that kind of squash color. And I would bring it out more, and now we would get into when we would want to do those wings. I'm pretty dramatic in my makeup anyway, so I would wear the wings for my daily look, but not everybody is looking for that same kind of thing. But this is what I would do if I wanted to jazz it up a little bit or make it just a little bit more fun for the evening. You can see on this one I just did a big harsh line up and then kind of filled in underneath. I found, since I've developed crow's feet, that I can't do my makeup the same way, or I can't do my eyeliner the same way I have for most of my life. So I've found that sweeping up like this is the best way for me to avoid getting that area where it's super wrinkly. Cute. Make one and then match the other. I would definitely start with your weaker side, finish it, and then make your strong side match. It's way easier. For instance, I'm not as good as doing my eyeliner on this eye, surprise, as I am on this eye. So I should have done that one first and then mirrored it, but it's not anything too crazy for me. So I'm just gonna make sure that I fill it in. And you guys can probably see on the video a little bit better than I can. It's probably not actually filled in all the way. Probably looks like crap. Oh yeah, I can see that. So we would want to close that off and just give it a little dip. Close it off and just give it a little dip. And then the last piece to make it a little bit more exciting for maybe a date or whatever exciting plans you have, I would do a little more blush, swirling it on there, just a touch on the cheeks, swirl it on there, touch on the cheeks. And last but not least, one final beautiful touch of a little bit more of that pink opal highlighter. You can really see it in the lighting here when I lean forward. Oh, it's gorgeous. All right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is BugCatcherKate's very first makeup tutorial. Take one. Have a good evening.